Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Automechanika Riyadh, I would like to welcome you all to the Automechanika Academy. We had a really impactful day yesterday where we had some key presentations from governments, some key statistics on how the automotive and the aftermarket industry within the kingdom is changing. Before we start an action packed program for today, I would just like to draw your attention to a couple of housekeeping details. Firstly, we do have translation services available. So, in case if you would like to avail those opportunities, there are our translation services providing company at the back of the stage. So, please head towards that in case if you need any. And we would also like to take this opportunity and thank our associate sponsors, Kempol and Synchron. Thank you so much for always supporting the Academy. Without further ado, I would like to proceed with the program for today. Please join me in welcoming our esteemed speaker, Mr. Sadal Hatem, who is the Director General of Standards Department at SASO, and he's a seasoned expert with over 20 years of experience in setting standards and engaging stakeholders regionally and internationally. Today, he will discuss partnerships, collaborations, and conformity as a regulatory perspective, offering his insights into empowering business activities through balanced standards. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Saad on stage.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon for everyone. I hope you hear me clearly as you through this noise, but I will try my best to deliver a valuable information for you. Before I start, I just give you an overview what really SASO do. SASO considered as the NSB national standards body for Saudi Arabia, which cover the standard development, also the technical regulation preparation, also the conformity assessment procedure. And let me explain it in a simple word. What really the standards? The standards is just a technical document that's based on consensus, consensus between all the interested party. When we establish our technical committee, and that's really it will be the small kitchen when the standards prepared, we try to bring all the stakeholders in one place. Why? To build a balanced standards to in order to apply it for all stakeholder equally. Um, then after that, when we prepare standards, we not keep it in the shelf. We need a conformity assessment procedure, which is a certification testing to apply these standards in a reality. Without a conformity assessment, the standard is still be in the shelf and is useless. After that, to understand how can we combine between administrative procedures and technical procedure, there is a technical regulation, which be in the horizontal way. The standards will be in the vertical. The technical regulation is just for sector, included bunch of standards for examples, for the spare part, or for maybe the EVs, or maybe other products. This is the technical regulations. It included all the standards. It will include the conformity, the right conformity is a procedure that you should follow. Um, the purpose of this introduction to understand the ecosystem of standards before I go further in my presentation. I know I will talk about the future mobility. How can we see ourselves in the future? And I will combine it with some features that the great exhibition it presented. It's like a spare part, lubricant, and the other mechanical parts for the mobility sector. Let me at the beginning to start with this finest word from our crown prince Mohammed Salman. He just talk about the future. How can we navigate through the and the most important thing, how can we be prepared for this era? This is the new era that we will face, and one of the important tools to navigate through this era, it's about standards. Standards and technical regulation is very important for the economic sectors and how can the economy survive in coming days. Let me just highlight some of the importance of standards. There is a several studies conducted by the ISO. The ISO is the International Organization Standardization. It should be the umbrella for all the NSBs, the national standards body. And they just conduct a study about the impact of standards in economy, especially the GDP. The most of this study resulted that there is indirect and direct impact. The indirect impact is maybe reach up to 30% in the GDP, and direct impact is around 1%. It's not small amount. When we talk about the GDP, a 1% of GDP is a huge contribution from standards. Why? Because the standards is enabler for all the economic activities. Also, even the social activities as well. When a standard is not related to the product only, it's just related to the product, services, management, and social activity as well. Then the standards is everywhere. There is other study for a French company. The French company, when they participate in the technical committee that's prepare the standards, their sailing is increased about 20%. That's why, because they take the heads up before the standards is published. They know, they put their opinion, they put their input in standards, then they're fully aware about standards before it's published, then it will be reflected in their businesses as well. When we see that there's a British companies, the British companies also is increased by 3.2 annually for the exportation, and that is because the influence of standards. And when we talk about the GDP, the study, the Canadian authorities that conducted this study, they take a period from 1980 up to 2014, and they just focus on the GDP and the factors that's contained under the GDP, which is the productivity and the labor productivity as well. They increase about 0.8 and 16.1 during the same period, and combined with the increasing of the standards. Then I will talk about the future transportation and our tools to help this sector to be thrive and survive. We issue a standards and regulation, certification system we have, and all the study and research that's help the market and help us to know the market very closely, and maybe we will reflect it in our standards and our certification process. Um, as you know, this is a primary tool that we have in SASU. We try to maintain it. We try to be more responsive to market need, and especially in these days as we living in the volatile world. The world is changing every moment. If we're not good enough to be responsive to the market, it will be that reflected in our standard, and will be a lag, not is just updated as much as we can. Of course, through our standards, we try and regulation as well. As I mentioned, as regulation is it comes in horizontal direction, the standards comes vertical, the regulations comes for sectors, standards come directly to the product. That's why the regulations contain administrative aspects and technical aspects as well. Standards is just related for the technical aspect for the product or services. Um, we did some work in technical regulation for the lubricant, as mentioned, for as well as the EVs, the electrical vehicles, for hydrogen vehicles as well. We did some work in technical regulation for spare part, and we included all the standards that we have in this technical regulation. And by the way, it's available on our website. It's free to charge. You can see it, you can navigate it, you see how can you comply with you. And we are more happy through our all channel that's SASE conduct with to hear opinion from you to help you to comply with this technical regulation. Um, Back in 2 years ago, we think how can we be more responsive to the market. We try to establish our standard strategy. The standard strategy comes after the pandemic to cope with all the emerging technology, with all the the fastest changing in the world. That's why we have a 17 sector. The 17 sector is just the most high priority area that we should focus on. One of them is the transport. And if you see, we try to cover all the emerging technology that exists now and that we need in the future. For the smart marine technology, for hydrogen vehicle, facilities management, EVs, autonomous car, all is even the supply chain for the logistics supply chain, the whole logistics supply chain. We try to manage all these in one document and make a plan to follow, and we see how can we fulfill after that. We started 2022. It will be end by end of this year. We are prepare ourselves now for the next phase for our strategy. As you know, the smart transportation is a pressing issue now. How can we create a smart transportation for the people that will be reduce the environmental impact? It will be enhance the efficiency of energy. It will be more efficient and more fast way to commute for the people. That's why we discussed that with the Ministry of Transportation and how can we create a strategic or maybe a roadmap for us. Now we are working with them in a strategy that's the future of mobility. How can think from now? How can we focus on what we need for all this technology ahead? And how can we prepare ourselves in terms of standards, prepare the standards or technical regulation or maybe a certification system? Some of this technology is not mature enough, and that is always a challenging. When we try to develop a standard, should be there is a mature technology we can build on it because the standards is based on the technical practice. It will be mature in the market, then you can put a standard on it. Now the standard is competing with the technology. Sometimes the standards comes with the innovation, not be after the innovation. And that is will make a challenge for us. We try to navigate how can we manage and mitigate these challenges. This is just a graph how can connect all the smart transportation and all the with the infrastructure, with the city infrastructure, and how connect and what the rule of standard between the connection and the interoperability between all these components. And this is really what the standard is about. How can we manage the consensus of these technologies work together in harmonization and not affected each other. And really, that is appear to us as a challenging. We try to mitigate it. We try to think how can we solve it with our stakeholder. As I mentioned, that is one of the most important impact of transportation is in our environment. We try through the smart transportation to mitigate it, all these uh, all these impacts on our environment through the reduce the emission that is released from the vehicles or released from all the transportation items. We try to by adopting this technology to reduce the impact in our environment. We just issue a 75 technical regulation. All these 75 cover a huge sectors. One of these important ones is for transportation. As you know, we have a technical regulation, as I mentioned, for the hydrogen, for the EVs as well, for electrical batteries, for EVs, for the auto spare part. Also, we have something for lubricant, for other part of for the transportation sector. Maybe I mentioned that earlier when I start this presentation. How can we work with our stakeholder? The key ingredients in our standard and technical regulation is our stakeholder. How can we bring all the stakeholder in one place to discuss all the standards and technology that meet their requirements, and they they have the decision to make it is right for them or not. Not so just the decision. It just decision is related to the stakeholder. We have now around the 50 technical committee at the different sector. We have now more than 32,000 standards. As I mentioned, as we have 57 technical regulations, and all that it comes to our stakeholder for all the economic activities and social activities as well. And as I mentioned, the most important thing, and why we bring all the stakeholders in the same place to build a consensus to meet the market need. This is the most important things that we need to focus as a standards body. This is one of the current and future initiative for transportation technology. For the electric vehicle, as I mentioned, that we have a technical regulation, hydrogen, autonomous vehicles. We are now prepare a technical regulation standards for autonomous as well, for trains, for maritime, for smart transportation system, and logistic and application as well. I will give you an example about the main standards that we have, and my colleague here from GSO, he knew about this standards. The famous one is GSO, SASO GSO 42. It's for the general requirements for the motor vehicles. We try through this to impose some of safety features like the electronic stability control, tire pressure monitoring system, brake override system, and anti-lock braking system and airbags as well. This is it will be the most important standards and technical regulation that we have, that we try to ensure through these standards and the conformity assessments. Based on these standards, the safety of the vehicles that it's drove in our roads. These some of the features we try in 2025 to apply. For as you know that the rear feedback system, I know some of these features is already applied in these cars, but when we see the global practice is not mandated yet. But we will mandate it maybe in 2025 for all the cars should be combined with these features. It's like a rear view video system and the autonomous emergency braking system as well. We have also in 2027 we will apply the e-call. E-call is very important now when especially the accidents happens. The e-call is actually linked with the 911 and let the authorities there is accidents happens, there is issue happens, and they will respond directly to the accident location. Also, we have the digital audio broadcasting, what we call it as a short ADAB Plus. This is will provide a high clear broadcasting. Also, there is will feeding the driver with the instruction, the caution information about the weather, about the condition of the road, all the traffic jam that will be happen, and we will provide him with the high clear broadcasting. This is about the blind spot information system as well. This is very important. We have also the telematics, which the how can you control your fleet, especially when you just have a big fleet. How can you control the fleet? Also, it will help the authority about the traffic violation. Also, we have a lane departure warning system, and this is a very important now. See? And will be end my presentation. I hope to give you just a glimpse about what SASO really do. I know it's a lot of information, technical information. I'm just here to happy to listen to you, to listen to your concern, to your notes or question. Thank you. Thank, thank, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. There is any question or? Sorry.
Thanks, Mr. Saad, for the presentation, and I think it has a lot of insightful information. My question is, I found that you are listing a lot of technologies to be mandated in the future, like EV, hydrogen cars, and autonomous cars, and all of this. Regarding the EV, which is part of our work, actually, uh, how you cope with EV technology, especially the main component of the EV is the battery. You know, the battery is the backbone of the EV. Without the battery, this is the fuel. This is the fuel of the car. How you cope with the EV technology, especially the electrochemistry technology, is evolving very fast, and every day it's changing. How you cope with that?
Yeah. Thank you. It's a very it's a very insightful question. I hope it's it. Yeah. It's okay. Thank you for this interesting question. I think this is how can we about the battery? I know this is a huge risk for the battery in EVs. Actually, we 2 years ago we start our certification system and technical regulation and standards. And when we take the EVs in angle of the battery, will be a huge concern for us. That's why we link with all the companies, with the research centers, and we try how can we mitigate all the risk is around the EVs and AVs battery as well. I know it's a major concern, and still concern is a global concern. It's not international research, and we're open. Why? That's why open our technical committee for all the experts comes from all over the world and discuss the matter. If we need to amendment or change our standards, we will change it. We will cope directly with any aviation or any updating in this regard.
Thank you. I think your concern is right. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's involving, and nobody, even in Europe now, they
Yes.
cannot cope with the regulation because you know that China is dominating this technology over than 70% of all over the world. And now already United States and Europe, they're trying to fight with the Chinese already because they are dominating all the technology as well. Because the technology now it's growing very fast and nobody can catch that. Anyhow, I think you are.
That's why I'm asking, how can standards compete with the innovation? Because this is what we to learn. I'm just not a young guy, I'm an old guy. I know 20 years ago that's the practices come and is the beginning. The practice is coming, then standards follow. Now it should be the standards lead the innovation. And that is make a challenge for us. How can we be more resilient with all these changes? That's why we created a fast track for very important things that we can cope with it.
Thank you, Mr. Saad. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Assalamualaikum.
Salam.
Just to compliment what Brother Saad said, Kingdom, I work for Ministry of Industry, Wazara Sana, and I'm Chief Advisor for Automotive. Came from 30 plus years in Detroit, Michigan. Um, just to comment on the battery, EV battery, SASO is really our partner looking at all the measures and regulations. But as a technical partner like Sear and Lucid, these EV company, OEM, they have engineering experts also. So in EV battery industry, there are two different chemistries. One is called NCM, nickel cadmium, nickel cobalt manganese, and the other one is LFP, lithium phosphate ferrous, phosphorus. Correct, correct. So LFP has more thermal load capacity, 30% or so more. Don't quote me. This is quoted by the experts, which I'm just recording. And we have a lot of discussion with the number one, number two, number three companies in the globe in the EV battery space. Okay, and they all have suggested that Saudi Arabia, because of the temperature, we need to have the LFP chemistry. Okay, Europe, US, which is a colder area, not too hot, although Arizona and some places are very hot, and even Houston and other places. But uh, Saudi Arabia and UAE in this region is the hot environment. LFP is a better choice, and even in China today, majority of the OEMs are using LFP battery. Just wanted to.
Thank you, Dr. Aftab.
Yes.
Thank you.
Regarding the types of batteries, what you have mentioned, I think the NCM, the nickel cobalt manganese, and the LFP, and now they are evolving the LFP to LMFP in order to increase the energy density. I do have some comment with the full respect to you that really either regards irrelevant to Saudi Arabia, it has a hot weather, or Emirates or Qatar or something like that. NCM it's used actually now in a big cars. It's called ternary batteries, okay? And this is the big risk of NCM, it's the safety. And this is solved by the battery enclosure, strengthening this into anti-bunching. But in general, in the future, safety is one of the main concerns, beside the energy density, is now they are going into this, why I asked Mr. Saad about the evolving of the technology now. Now they are going into another new technology, which is called sodium ion. Sodium ion is risk-free. It's zero, okay? But the problem of the sodium ion is the energy density is very low, okay? But NCM, it can be used in Saudi Arabia here, because if you see the BMW 750i, it has an NCM, okay? Because it has a big battery. The NCM, the big benefits of NCM is the energy density. The energy density is very high. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think I don't want to bore everybody with the LMFP and sodium and solid state. And if you have some question, we have discussed with all over the globe, and we fully understand what's the future coming, solid state battery or sodium. But today is not in production in commercial. So NCM today is safe. It's not like NCM is, but we want to be more safer and take the risk out. So LFP. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Afdal. Thank you for the question. I think because I will take all your questions if you have a question. I will be around a while. That's okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Saad, for an interesting presentation. And please, Mr. Saad is available in case if you would like to meet him personally off the stage. You're more than welcome to have those conversations.